The war was new. A siege choked Boston. The Continental Army had men. It had no heavy guns, no way to break the ring of British steel. A second threat loomed north, Canada. Lake Champlain was a highway for invasion. They needed cannons. They needed to lock the northern door. Fort Ticonderoga had both. A spy, John Brown, sent word in March 1775. The fort was decaying. Its garrison was weak. Benedict Arnold knew it too. He told the Massachusetts Committee of Safety, lightly defended, full of arms. Captain Noah Phelps went in disguised as a peddler. He saw it for himself. Dilapidated walls, wet gunpowder. The British commander expected reinforcements. He did not expect rebels. Ignorance was a poor defense. Captain William de Laplace commanded the fort, 26 regiment of foot, 48 men, 2 officers, a handful of women and children. They were not an army. They were a skeleton crew holding a fortress, in name only. The men coming for them were not an army either. Ethan Allen led the Green Mountain Boys, a militia born from land disputes with New York. Benedict Arnold carried a paper commission from Massachusetts. Connecticut sent volunteers. Men from Pittsfield joined them. They were a collection of arguments held together by a single idea. 83 men would make the first crossing. Less than 200 in total, a mob against a fortress. Reputation was the only thing Ticonderoga had left. Lexington and Concord lit the fuse on April 19th. Massachusetts gave Benedict Arnold a colonel's commission. Raise 400 men, take the fort. He rode north. He found Ethan Allen had the same idea. The Green Mountain Boys were already gathering in the New Hampshire grants. Arnold had a piece of paper. Allen had the men. They argued. They agreed to share command. It was a lie they both accepted for the moment. May 10th, past 3 in the morning. They crossed Lake Champlain in the dark. The boats were too small. 83 men went first, Allen and Arnold with them. A single sentry saw them come. His musket misfired. He ran. The Americans poured through an open gate. They found a garrison asleep. Allen found the commander's quarters. He demanded the fort, in the name of the great Jehovah and the Continental Congress. Captain de Laplace surrendered. He didn't have a choice. Crown Point fell next, its 9-man garrison taken without a shot. Then Fort George, a raid north to Fort St. John, seized a British sloop and naval superiority on the lake. The guns were the real prize. In December, Henry Knox arrived. The noble train of artillery began. 59 cannons, nearly 60 tons of iron, dragged 300 miles in the dead of winter by sled and oxen. By March 1776, those guns sat on Dorchester Heights, looking down on Boston. The British saw them. They evacuated the city. A fort taken in the dark had liberated a city. Victory created problems. Not enough boats. The attack almost failed before it began. The fort itself was a ruin. Walls collapsed. Extracting the cannons was heavy, miserable work. Allen's men had no supply line. They looted the fort for liquor. Allen signed a receipt for it. The command structure was a fiction. Arnold held the commission. Allen held the loyalty of the men. They fought over everything: leadership, plunder, strategy. Arnold accused Allen of governing by whim. He was not wrong. When Congress sent a new commander, Colonel Benjamin Hinman, Arnold resigned. The British garrison was a joke. 48 men, mostly invalids, holding a key to the continent. They were blind to the war that had already started. They slept through their own defeat. The fort was taken by ambition and incompetence in equal measure. The cost was nothing: 1 American wounded, a bayonet scratch from a sentry, 1 man captured later near Fort St. John, 0 British killed, 0 wounded, 48 men captured at Ticonderoga, 78 in total across the region. An entire strategic position erased without a real fight. The outcome was everything. It was the first offensive American victory of the war. It gave them morale. It gave them cannons. It gave them control of the lake. Those cannons broke the siege of Boston. The victory compelled the Continental Congress to think beyond defense. It gave them a staging ground to invade Canada. The fort would be lost again in July 1777, but its purpose was already served. The keys to the continent had already unlocked Boston.